your course, our credentials, we are viewed as the authority on market size and trends. And we have expertise in more than 20 different industries. And now we get our data from a few different sources. So the three main sources that we gather our data, one is point of sale. Okay, so we have a ton of retail partners and we collect actual transactions from over 200,000 retail doors. We gather data from scanning millions of receipts for both online and in-store. And what that lets us do is we can see how consumers' purchases change longitudinally. So we can see how one consumer's purchases change from year to year. So it doesn't even just give us the what's happening, but the why it's happening. And we also send out more than 12 million consumer surveys. So just giving you an overview of what we'll talk about tonight, I'm going to take you through today's changing consumer. We have a new committed consumption. We've become a casualization nation, we're digital divas, and we've also become more responsible. And then Todd is going to dig really deep into the intimates world and tell you what's been trending. So we've changed a lot as consumers, right? We changed how we shop. Over $250 that came from the online apparel, that came from apparel this year, came from online. We changed how we spend. We have a new set of committed consumptions that we didn't have a few years ago. We're going to talk about that. We changed how we live, wellness, homing, all trends that are really important to the consumer. We changed how we communicate. We don't call friends and family anymore to see what's happening in their lives, right? We go to social media and we can get updates. We change how we care. The consumer has a voice, and that voice is getting louder. So now it's my job to really think about this, right? And I dig in our data and I see what's really changing, what's affecting this change, where are the trends shifting. And this change that I've seen in retail really reminds me of one of my favorite movies, okay? So when I think of retail and how it was a few years ago, you know, how there were rules in place, it reminds me of the beginning of Wizard of Oz, right? When Dorothy's on the farm with Toto and Indiana, life was simple. There were rules in place. It's like retail, you know, 10, 15 years ago, if you had a good assortment at the right price and a steady flow of consumers, you were in business. But we're not in Kansas anymore. All of the rules have changed. We see retailers that have been in business for decades filing for bankruptcy. Toys R Us gone, Payless filing for bankruptcy. We see online native brands who are only a few years old popping up and stealing share. Brands and retailers who are always taught to toe the line and be diplomatic, don't say anything about political or social issues, they're now expected to have a voice, take a stance. And it can be confusing, right? It can be a confusing time. There's a lot of disruption. But it's not always that bad. And during this time of disruption, data can be your fairy godmother, holding your hand as you navigate through these scary and disruptive waters. And as a result of all this disruption and all this change, the apparel market's been relatively flat over the past 3 years. And at MPD, we talked about this last year. This isn't a surprise to us. In our forecasting report, we predicted that the apparel market was going to be flat through 2018. And unfortunately, we don't see this as getting any better because we predict that apparel will decline slightly in 2019. And here you see, this is a quote from our Chief Industry Advisor, Marshall Cohen. And he talks about brands and retailers being lifestyle enablers, right? We're changing, the consumer spend and interest is changing. So how can you make life easier for them? How can you go along with them on this new journey? And now we're going to talk about how shift is spending. Consumers are spending on experiences. We've seen park attendance on the rise, travel on the rise. RV sales have doubled since 2009. And does anybody have an idea of who's the main reason behind that? Who? Millennials. It's not boomers, retired, traveling the country, it's millennials. Millennials are delaying buying homes, delaying getting married. They're buying RVs and traveling the country. So it's really showing you all the change in how we're shifting our focus and shifting our spend. But what we're talking about here, this is a spend on travel and discretionary spend. Before we even get there, we have bills, right? We have committed spend and committed consumption that we have. Every month we get paid before we can even think about what we want to spend on, we've got bills. So Here is your look at your traditional monthly expenses. We have auto payments, loans, gas, utilities. Rent and mortgage isn't even on here, but we all know that's the biggest, right? So now this is traditionally what we have to pay, money that's going out of our wallets every month. I know you might be questioning, this is national average. We looked into this. I know that gym membership is looking low. Trust me, I looked up the numbers extensively, because when we first were talking, it's like $15, not my gym. So here we're looking at your traditional expenses. But now, consumer has a whole new set of expenses that they didn't have 5 or 10 years ago. Amazon Prime, right? Spotify, Costco. So now all of these new expenses, and this is just a sample, this isn't even the whole breadth of the subscriptions you could have, that equates to almost $300. So now think about it, that's $300 less the consumer has in their discretionary spend. That's $300 less that they have to spend on apparel, on intimates, on bras, on panties. So now, there are more brands coming up in the marketplace. We're seeing more D2C brands, more stores, and more brands are fighting for less share. So it's becoming a really tough fight. And so now when you look at this list, what do you really see? The majority of these are subscription services, right? They make our lives easy, they're great, they do a good job at this. You can set up your auto subscription, so before you even run out of your household essentials, they show up at your door. Subscription boxes, Stitch Fix, Trunk Club. Who's ever signed up for these? So can I ask someone, I'm going to pick on someone. Are you still signed up? Yes. Yes. Who was signed up and canceled? What? So your apparel subscription box, about when did you cancel? Like Stitch Fix, Trunk Club?
Trunk Club, I canceled that for a while.
Okay. It was quick. So I can tell you, you're with the majority there. So MPD, we saw this being a trend, we wanted to find out more about it, so we really dug into our consumer base. We found out that over 50% of people who sign up for apparel subscription services cancel within the first 3 months. That's huge. And we got this, we couldn't believe it, and we said, well, we need to know why, right? Why are they canceling? What's happening here? Because it's a trend, we keep hearing about it, we keep talking about it. Why are these services losing members? A third, just because they lost interest. And it makes sense when you think about it, right? You get that first box, you're really excited, you run home. By the second box, okay, maybe they didn't listen to a couple of things that you said, a couple of requests, and by, the time you get your next box, you don't see the need in it, and you just lose your interest. So we feel that it's really important for these services to focus on personalization, right? That's how you're going to keep her interested. And we polled millennials to kind of gauge that what their feelings were on subscription services. And 71% felt that the sign-up process could be better. Ask me more about myself. Don't just ask me, what's my favorite color? What size am I? What style do I like? But ask me to get to know me and predict what I might like. So one service that we found doing a really good job is Pose. You might not have heard about it. They're brand new entering the market. And what Pose does is that they don't just focus on one category, like intimates, like activewear, like sportswear, but they focus on categories that make her feel good about herself. So the box includes a wellness item, whether it's a face mask or a bath bomb. It includes lingerie, right? Makes her feel good. Also includes activewear. Because sometimes activewear, we don't look good in anything else, but activewear just has those slimming properties and we love it. And so all of these services come in this box and it changes every month. And it keeps her enticed and it keeps her interest up. And now we've been talking about activewear. They're playing on a huge trend here. We've seen activewear everywhere and we've become a casual nation. So this is looking at year-over-year dollar volume for men's and women's activewear. And we see that women's activewear has outpaced men's activewear for the past few years, but men's activewear actually grew faster in 2018. And now we saw this data and we said, wow, people are buying a lot of activewear. They must be working out more, right? We're running more marathons? No, that's not the case. 60% of those wearing activewear at least several several times a month, almost never exercise. That's like always gets a reaction. It's true, we laugh because it's true, right? We're not really exercising more. It's just comfortable. Has great slimming properties. We love to wear it. It's easy to wear. So we saw this and we're like, all right, wow, she's not really wearing it to work out as much. Where is she wearing it? Where is he wearing it? So we saw that people were actually wearing activewear in all different aspects of their lives, for most of their lives. Staying in, going out, running errands, visiting friends, work, school. 4% said they wear it on dates. I mean, if you think about 10 years ago, if someone showed up to a date wearing activewear, they weren't getting a call back. The way we dressed has changed. All of the rules have changed. So if you look at the number one reason, 46% said they were hanging out at home. Makes sense, right? It's really where we're gonna wear it. It's casual, it's comfortable. But this is really important because this is indicative of another huge trend we've been seeing. Staying in is the new going out. 29% of adults say that their desire to leave the house has decreased over the past 6 months. This big homing trend, right? Enhancing your whole in-home experience. And what does that mean? That means investing in candles, cozy blankets, slippers, puzzles. Our houses have become media centers, right? Streaming media centers. Who here has more than one video streaming service? Yeah, oh, I have 4. And I need all of them, okay? Meal kits. If you want to cook a gourmet meal, you don't have to leave your house. All of the items can just ship to your house, cooked, ready to go. If you don't want to cook, Seamless, Grubhub, get everything delivered right to your home. You can order it over your phone. We can even use our phones to control our whole home environment. Nest, Alexa. We don't have a reason to leave our homes anymore. And this whole trend, this whole homing trend that we've been seeing, dollars are shifting to this. And it actually even has a name. It's called Hugga. Has anyone seen this? Are they familiar with this term? Yeah. So if you Google it, there's so many articles about it. It's this a Danish-born term and it refers to the constant pursuit of homespun pleasures. It's about candlelight, having a glass of wine at home. What's really interesting about this trend is that it evolved from a couple different places. One being HGTV. We see fixer-upper, people wanting to be their own interior designers. And also social media. Social media has played a huge part in this trend. At MPD, we track, like I said, over 20 different industries. One of the industries is books. Books is up in our data. We haven't seen that since the Kindle hit the market. And why? Because people are taking that perfect Instagram shot with their book and their glass of wine. I don't know if they're reading the books, but it looks good on Instagram. So how does this translate to fashion? We talked about active, or we talked about comfort. Anthropologie came out with their Hugga cardigan. We've seen Birdies, this brand that comes out that came out with slippers that you could wear outside, cozy bags. Even we're seeing intimates change. High-waisted underwear, wireless bras. Heidi, we were talking about this before. Comfort.
Yes, yes.
And
I
this,
read the book, I read the book.
I hope they're sharing it. But this whole idea of comfort, and you see it's leaving the home, and it's permeating into almost every category that people are purchasing into. And like I said, this really came partly from Instagram. People sharing this, okay, these perfect moments. And it really tells you and shows you the importance of social media, especially in our industry, because we've become digital divas. You know, we talk a lot about social media at MPD. We really want to get a grasp of how it's affecting our consumers. And over a quarter of adults use social media to learn about the latest styles. And of that 29%, 41% are men, which that surprised us. It gears more towards younger, over a third were 18 to 34-year-olds. That's that Gen Z millennial age groups. Okay, that makes sense. 40% are using it all of the time to discover trends. So people are constantly on social media wanting to be influenced, wanting to see the latest styles, where the trends are headed. And it's really important for engagement. We see that 64% of consumers that are interested in fashion trends and do look to Instagram and social media for fashion trends follow at least one brand. see that 46% don't. So we're saying 46% of people who are hungry for fashion and apparel, they're not following any brands. Now that's a big opportunity to engage with consumers, okay? That's a big opportunity lost to make a connection. So now you might be thinking, okay, I can engage with them in other ways, print ads. It's not all about social media. But we're seeing that engagement lead to purchases. We asked our consumers if they've ever bought something they've seen on social media. Over half said that they had. And 62% of that number purchased clothing more than once. And out of the 46% that said they never purchased clothing had actually considered it. So we're seeing this engagement really pay off. It's important to build awareness. It's important to build your brand. It's important to get your products out there where the consumer is. And in addition to showing your assortment and getting your message out there, it's a great platform to talk about who you are and what your missions are. Because consumers become a lot more responsible and they want to read and see about what their brands and retailers are investing in. We've asked our consumers a lot about sustainability. We're talking about it more and more, and I can't express enough how this is not a trend. This isn't going to change. This is a movement, and it's only growing and growing. So we asked our consumer base, how important was a brand's social responsibility when deciding whether or not to purchase their product? And a third found it extremely or very important. And then we said, okay, we know it means a lot to you, but are you really making purchases? And we see over a quarter of adults said, yeah, I'm purchasing from a brand or a retailer because I support their social position and what they stand for. And this geared more towards younger consumers. And again, that makes sense. And then we said, all right, well, what are you passionate about? What do you want to know more about? The number one cause with all age groups, male, female, was human rights and fair wages. They felt most strongly about this cause. And then following that was sustainability, toxic dyes and chemicals, animal welfare, minimizing waste, and global warming. So all really important with the consumer. And we see a lot of brands doing this, especially in the intimates world. Naja has supported a couple of different efforts. They have their zero waste collection, and they also support women through various efforts. And we all know Everlane's platform. Everlane supporting cleaning up plastics, fair wages, fair factories. And I feel like it used to be where, as a brand, you were classified as a certain thing, where, okay, you were a sustainable brand, you were a fashion brand, you were a contemporary or modern brand. But now every brand needs to be whatever they choose, whatever style they choose, and they also need to be sustainable. So just some key takeaways. You can see this as your yellow brick road to a successful 2019. The consumer is shifting spend. They're shifting spend to convenience, to experiences. How do you fit in there? How do you fit into convenience with her? How are you going on her trip with her? She wants to be comfortable, but she won't sacrifice style. Connections through social media are leading to purchases. It's an important place to build relationships and really get out to your consumers. And find a social cause that aligns with your mission, whatever it is. Consumers don't expect you to change the world and play in every lane. Pick one thing or a few things and take action and be vocal about it. Okay, so now I'm going to hand it over to Todd for an intermits overview. And we're going to also have, I think, 15 minutes after for questions.
Thank you, Kristen. I'm going to give an intimates overview for 2018, and there's going to be 3 key themes that weave throughout this presentation, based on category performance, channel performance, and price segmentation performance. Now, in terms of categories, the number one category, which is bras, is actually performing well, which is fantastic news. A lot of that's being driven by the designer space and also sport bras, based on millennials' love of fitness, wellness, and just hanging out in home and activewear. In terms of channel performance, those non-traditional channels that offer value and convenience are winning. In terms of value, we're talking about the off-price retailers. Ross Dress for Less actually is doing really well. Pure plays, we mean Amazon, and online sales are up 7%. The good news is that department stores, a really important channel to this category or to this industry, is maintaining. So department stores are not dead. And in fact, again, the department stores focusing on designer brands and exclusive offers and pop-up stores is really driving improved sales. In terms of mass, it was not a great year for the intimate apparel business in mass. Walmart and Target are both kind of reinvigorating their strategies, and again, they sort of had a sales decrease. We're pretty hopeful that in 2019, they're going to turn it around. Again, Target has just launched their Project Lace. Walmart has a new envisioning of their new assortment strategies. So again, 2019 should be a good year. We'll know in about 4 weeks when the data comes out, so we'll let you know. And then there's some really interesting things happening in terms of price segmentation. Upper price points, and I mean plus 55, plus 65, even plus $75 for a bra are actually growing very well. And the moderate price points, again, sort of just above the high end of mass, sort of 15 to 34, again, is appealing to a much broader cross-section, but it's doing quite well. So it's kind of that bifurcation of the market with sort of that mid-level, and very, very high end, which is really interesting. We've never seen the price points in the high end grow that much. So a colleague of mine, Dan, put together this great intimates year in review, and this is a slide we start all of our presentations with. And a lot of things happened. Aerie transferred their Real campaign from sportswear to the Aerie brand. And again, that's really all about sort of size inclusivity, body positivity, ethnic diversity, an amazing campaign. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Aerie later. Nearly Nudes launched on HSN, and that again is really about a body tone story and that ethnic diversity story. Cole opened up their first retail store. So wholesale brands are acting more like retailers. The Fenty Savage launch with Rihanna, again, was a social media stir. Again, really, really important, a real disruption for that younger consumer. Third Love, again, a digital native brand, activated in a pop-up environment. They also had a lot of fun with Victoria's Secret a little later in the year. And they really expanded their size platform. I think they offer up to 78 sizes now. And again, it's all about size inclusivity, body diversity, and just really uplifting and empowering women of all shapes and sizes. The big retailers are on a spending binge. Walmart bought Eloquii, they bought Bare Web, and then they did a collaboration with Casabella. So there's a lot of things that happened in this industry, but the sales just are flat. So it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of disruption, but it's still a $12, $13 billion industry. We define intimate apparel at NPD as non-sport bras, sport bras, panties, shape, and daywear. Many of you include sleep and swimwear in this. This is kind of our industry definition. So as you can see, over the past 3 years, it's essentially flat. Shapewear's up a little bit, sport bras are up a little bit. If I took this 6 years back, essentially it would be flat. What do you do when an industry is mature? It's all about stealing share. And that's really what this is all about. So all this disruption is just slicing the pie slightly differently. When we dig a little deeper into the intimates categories, again, we see that bras and panties, the big categories, are stable. No change and down 1%. And in our world, that's pretty stable. The growth is happening in sports bras and shapewear, but again, shapewear was on a real decline, so that's off a really low base. So again, not that great of news, but the truth is, some of the major players have really realigned their innovation and the consumer's voting. So again, it's being driven by innovation. Where are customers shopping? Again, a third of where customers shop for intimate apparel is in the specialty channel. But where the growth is happening is e-commerce pure play, Amazon, and off-price retailers. Again, that customer is starved for value. Digging a little deeper into the actual retailers, as much as we kind of love to hate Victoria's Secret, the truth is they are a quarter of the market. 1 out of 4 customers is shopping there. There's new leadership. I'm sure they're going to turn it around. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. But again, they're still a major, major player. When we look at the retailers that are winning, Amazon gained share, Ross dressed for less. Ross was not on this chart 2 years ago. It didn't even make the top 20. They really focused on this category and they're winning. Pretty interesting. So, I kind of gave you this doom and gloom slide. It's just the industry's flat, it's not growing. So we like to kind of think of how to steal share as using 4 strategic levers. 1 is retail and product innovation. 2 is excellence in e-commerce and direct-to-consumer transactions. 3 is merchandising and assortment merchandising, in-store excellence, as well as really understanding your customer and connecting with the values and community of that customer and just creating a community for that customer. So I'm going to talk about retail and product innovation. And Aerie is a great example of retail innovation, and I didn't know that Margaret was going to be here. But the truth is, I can't talk enough about the Aerie Townhouse on 56th and Lexington. It's this incredible retail experience. It's 4 floors of intimate apparel, sleep, swim, activewear. It's immersive for that younger customer. It's uplifting. It's just an amazing store. So kudos to the Aerie people. And I know you're adding 60 more stores this year, so it's pretty amazing. And then, I looked at the data, I pulled the data, and Warner's and Spanx came up. Now, those of you that don't know me, I worked at Warner's, so I'm a little biased. But this is the data. The data doesn't lie. And so, when I think of Warner's, what they do well is they talk about real consumer benefits and bring those to the consumer in their own unique brand voice at a nice price point. What does Spanx do? Well, they're a bra business. They bring real consumer benefits in their unique, fun, Sarah Blakely voice. And both of those brands are unrelated. They're doing the same thing and winning. So I just think it's really interesting that those are connected. When talking about e-commerce and direct-to-consumer excellence, we have a tool called checkout tracking where we can actually find out what the top brands are. And Adore Me and Third Love, in terms of digital native brands, really pop up. And then Wacol, from a branded point of view. So we can also look at the brands that are selling at these digital native brands. Amazon is the #1 e-commerce website. Wacol is the #1 brand at Amazon. It really talks to the affluence of that Amazon customer, and we're going to dig a little deeper into that later. So merchandising, in-store, and product merchandising excellence. So again, I have Aerie here. And what I love about Aerie is when you walk into that bra floor, I think it's on the 3rd or 4th floor, they have these hanging folders that really communicate the assortment, communicate the style, communicate the individual features and benefits that really drive a customer to love a bra, and also communicate size. To me, that's the best merchandising system ever. It educates a customer in what is seemingly a very complicated product line. I've got Target here. They just launched their Project Lace, which is a complete re-envisioning of what a mass retailer's intimate apparel floor could look like. It's beautiful. It really is kind of it's a version of the Nordstrom floor, just done for that mass consumer. Dillard's, again, not a new strategy, but they decided we're not going to have the moderate promotional fray. We're going to go up market. And again, this isn't new for them, but they're winning. And again, it just talks about having a focus and really winning that way. And then Rigby and Peller. I talked to them because of those 75 plus bra price points really growing. And I've got a chart to show you a little later. Again, Rigby and Peller is Her Royal Majesty's intimate apparel supplier. They showcase all the best European brands in a really large size range and do a great job in store of addressing that better customer. So again, kudos to them. Then I've got Lively and Aerie. Again, 2 great brands that really understand their consumer, connect with their consumer, and create a community that makes her really be part of the brand experience. And I'll talk a little bit later about those brands specifically. So one of the really cool things we get to look at is what's kind of the merchandise mix nationally and how does that compare across retailers. So as you can see on the left, bras is 45% of the market, sports bras is 17% of the market, panties is 30%, and shapewear and daywear are obviously a little smaller. What's really cool to understand is each of these retailers have a very specific strategy. Victoria's Secret, Kohl's, and Macy's dominate in bras. And with the exception of Victoria's Secret and Walmart, all are underpenetrated in panties. So again, and for the most part, these strategies are working for them. My favorite other data point is demographics and understanding the demographics between each of these retailers. So again, on the left, we've got the national blend of how demographically the US is segmented. And then we can see that Victoria's Secret and Aerie really win with the Gen Z and millennial consumer. Victoria's Secret's at 65% millennial and younger. Aerie is at 90% millennial and younger. And Kohl's is the oldest retailer in America. But what's really interesting about Aerie is that most teen retailers lose them at 24 post-college, but Aerie has had an amazing stickiness with their customer, and they've got them till they're, millennials are now 37. We forget that. So again, they've done a great job of continuing that experience and connecting with that customer, which is really interesting. So I'm going to talk a little bit about innovation in Aerie. And honestly, I didn't know Margaret was here. So, I've talked a lot about creating that experience and connecting with the consumer. They are definitely a millennial retailer, and millennials are the me generation. So why wouldn't you put a customization and personalization station for them? Again, it's connecting to them, making it their own, making it a very personal connection to that garment. Millennials also have the highest self-esteem of any generation. Well, Aerie does a great job of making them feel great. Honestly, you walk into that store, there's positive messaging all around. They're just uplifting and empowering these young women, and it's really kind of amazing. And again, it's really all about body positivity, size inclusivity, ethnic, gender, sexual diversity. It's just an amazing story. And again, as Kristen talked about, this is really what the younger generation, oh my God, I just said that, the younger generation, it's really important to them. And here's the famous hanging folders. I've been in about 400 hours of focus groups of women talking about point of sale and packaging and customer benefits. I think this by far is the best merchandising system. It communicates the assortment, it communicates the style, and you can see the features and benefits from the front and the back. Again, it really is an amazing piece of in-store merchandising, and I just want to call that out. And then what's really interesting in the digital native brands is we're noticing how they're transforming as they mature. I'm going to talk about Lively, and I've just got some notes here because this is a relatively new section. So, Lively, we talk about being omnipresent. And an NPD, omnipresence is about a brand being available in more ways to connect to the consumer wherever they may be. And you've probably all seen Michelle Cordero. She's an ex-VS merchant, an ex-VF merchant, and she created Lively in 2016. She wanted to create a new collection of intimate apparel for a younger generation. She calls it Leisure, which is a combination of athleisure and lingerie. Really smart. And while it all starts with a great product, what she did differently was she actually connected to each customer one digital transaction at a time. She sold something, she emailed them, she found out what they liked, she connected with them, she created a community, and one customer at a time, which is really amazing. As she plotted her next step, she decided to open up a pop-up shop in Soho to connect more directly to her community. And so we took some photos of the store. Just really, it's a physical manifestation of the brand DNA that she created online. Again, open, modern, minimal, and just a great, great store. So again, being a former merchant, to me it's all about product. Great bras, really modern collections and constructions. Panties, swim, I can't talk enough about swim. Swim is a hot category. We could probably do a 45-minute presentation on swim alone. We might be at the swim show and do that. But again, just a really, really beautiful modern product. And then what I find interesting here is a big part of Lively is about size and ethnic diversity and inclusivity. And in a very small way, this is saying, we've got your size, we've got your back, you're welcome here. And again, Aerie does the same thing in terms of their in-store experience. And lastly, just here's some in-store shots of their modern minimal store. Again, there's some point of sale that's really uplifting and empowering to women. Again, strong messaging, and they're winning. So what's happening online? So online intimate apparel is up 7%, in-store is down 3%. On a $13 billion business, it's really about a wash, but definitely online is where it's at. When we look at the categories, it behaves slightly differently. We see that sport bras is performing well both in-store and online. Non-sport bras down 4, up 6, panties down 4, up 4. So again, it's just interesting to note the differences. One of the things that we're asked all the time by our clients is, so what should my digital business be? Well, total intimates is about 24% online, that's the penetration. And again, the categories are up and down by a couple of points, but essentially it's 24%. We're always asked, so how high is high? Where's it gonna go in the future? And again, we are thinking around 30, 35. Some people are even saying that apparel will go to 50%. But again, intimate apparel, we're thinking 30, 35. And a lot of our clients are actually saying to us, my Amazon business is kind of tough. What's going on? And the truth is, yeah, there's sort of Amazon fatigue. As that business matures, as you can see, so this bar is, the full bar is total online sales. The green bar is pure plays, which is predominantly Amazon. And so 2 years ago, it was up 15. This year it was only up 4. So while it's increasing, it is decelerating. And so that Amazon fatigue that you're experiencing is really being found out in the market. This is a really interesting slide. And this actually talks to how important this industry is to Amazon. Amazon's total women's apparel business is only 12%. Intimates is actually 28%. So that's a much bigger part of their apparel business. And again, that 28% splits out non-sport bras, sport bras, panties, shapewear, and daywear. But again, and non-sport bras are really, really important. And we have this, so knit tops is the #1 category in women's apparel, and bras is by far beating out that, so it's interesting. And then back to our checkout tracking tool, we can track, again, Amazon's selling, and we can track the brands within Amazon that are doing quite well. I think these are the top 10. This is old data, we don't want to give away all of our secrets. But what's interesting here is in the top 5, Cole, Calvin, Spanx, and Panache, those are all better brands. So it really talks to the affluence of that Amazon consumer. It also talks to the fact that Amazon is not a great discovery tool, but it's a great replacement tool. If you know you're a perfect primer 38D and a body beige, you can with one click get that bra delivered to you in 2 days or 1 day in New York, and again, you're done. That Cole customer is very loyal to style, she knows it, and again, it's a great replacement tool. So, again, demographics is my favorite data point. And so what's really interesting is millennials, again, biggest cohort, drives a lot of the sales, but boomers grew 6%. Pretty interesting. Now, if we marry that with our price point analysis, we actually see, again, look at that, 55, 65, 75 plus are growing significantly. Again, wealthy boomers are supporting those upper price points and the designer bra business. And then there's that more moderate space, 15 to 34, that is just the top end of mass and then that chain and department stores. So again, I just think this price segmentation slide is really interesting. And then, because we want to do something special for the Under Fashions Club, we rarely share our point of sale data, but we actually have the first ever NPD Bra Awards for the Under Fashions Club. And this is just the data, I just want to make sure. So, Warner, the #1 average figure bra is a Warner's bra. It's Easy Does It. It's an $11 million style in 2018. It's all about seamless comfort. The number 1 full figure bra is a Bally all over lace bralette. Now again, a lace bra doing that well, the full figure customer doesn't have a lot of lace options, so this is really serving her well, and again, doing really, really well. The #1 sport bra is the Nike Crossback wire-free, and Z. The #1 designer bra is the Notori Bliss Perfection Comfort Contour bra. Again, a great sort of t-shirt bra with a flat waist. Again, Notori does great stuff. So, that's the end of my data presentation. If you want more insights, Kristen and I are always posting on LinkedIn. Please feel free to connect to us. We love sharing our insights. And we also have, if you have any questions, and we'll answer some questions, but we have some friends in the audience, Michelle Chris and Chelsea Soflato, and they know a ton about intimate apparel data, and they're happy to help you. So that's our job.
Does anyone have any questions? Mary has a question.
Hi.
Thank you.
So we know that athleisure athletic bras are worn all the time.
Yeah.
And so when you look at categories like sports bras or this, active, like how do you make that delineation? Because you don't know how the woman's wearing it.
That's a really good question. And so we have a coding system that aligns with how retailers categorize the product and how the manufacturers categorize the product. So it's pretty accurate. It's not 100% accurate, but we're really capturing active in terms of it has performance benefits, it's seamless, it may have a certain type of cup construction for motion stabilization. So we're capturing those pretty well. We don't get the end use, and that's actually something that we do consumer research on.
So it's basically how the manufacturer markets it.
Yeah.
That's how you're measuring this.
Yeah, and also aligned with the retailers and categories as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
In your list of top-selling brands at Amazon, you did not list their private label brand, May. Was that purposeful because it's private label, or was that because it does not register in those top-selling brands?
Checkout tracking captures every brand, all the private label brands. Their private label business is not great. Again, bras are a very branded, better bras are a very branded experience, and their private label just isn't that big.
There's also a lot of it. If you really take a look at Amazon and because I've done this, I go through all of their brands and I look to see if it says my brand. And you think of the big ones, right? You think of May, you think of there's a couple of their activewear lines that I knew were pretty big. But when I really started to dig, I was like, we were just scratching the surface. Oh my gosh, I started to put a slide together, I lost room. I had to shrink because there's so much, they're just kind of throwing everything against the wall to see what sticks. And to Todd's point, they're having a hard time with it, hard time figuring it out.
Because again, that slide where women's apparel is only 12%. And they're a dominant retailer in terms of online, so again, they're having some trouble there.
You talked about the responsible consumer, people paying more attention to sustainability and all these different things. Are they willing to pay an upcharge for those things?
It's funny you ask. So we did ask the consumer if they were willing to pay more, right? Because it's nice to have. And we got about 40%. It was over a third said, yeah, I'm willing to pay more. But the interesting about that is, okay, saying something is one thing. Are you really going to do it, right? So where I see this evolving is that, okay, the consumer says they'll pay more, it's a nice to have, but they shouldn't have to pay more. And that's kind of where this whole movement is going. Like I said before, this isn't a trend, this is a movement. It's not a nice to have anymore, it's gonna be expected. And we actually just recently fielded a bunch of questions to our consumers, digging deeper into sustainability. And if you guys want to know more about that, you could talk to Chelsea and Michelle about our findings. We're fielding it right now. I was looking at Chelsea. But again, just to find that we literally asked the consumer, do you expect this? Is it just gone from, you know, something you look for to every retailer, every brand should be aligning with some mission that is sustainable, that is aligned with some sort of social movement?
I was actually just having this conversation with a client last Friday, and I gave the example of an organic food. Walmart made that available to everyone. And Walmart actually is making sustainable fashion available to everyone. So there is a way to get there at that popular price point. And there's also, one of the great things about a large retailer going after those kinds of causes is it does do a great education. So again, and we'll have some more hard data on that, whether they're willing to pay extra.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kime, and I actually just hosted a whole panel on inclusivity and intimate apparel. So I'm so excited to see this social part of consumerism, yet it was all about sustainability, not inclusivity, and then your examples included inclusivity. So I'm so curious to see if you have any data on consumer purchases and inclusivity as a message.
I know, do we have anything that splits it apart? I know we tend to kind of combine the social issues, sustainability into kind of one idea. They are very different, and it's true, they are very different. And hard data, it's a rising trend that we're seeing, and so many different brands taking part of inclusivity. I mean, if you look even at Target's new intimates brand, what's the name of it? Not the Auden, yes. If you look at Auden, if you go to the site and you see the models they have, it's different shapes, different sizes, different ages, and that's kind of what I love about it. It's ranging from 18 to 60. So, you know, we're seeing once it hits the mass, it's really a trend that's being driven.
Yeah, I think actually it's a great question, and we have the ability to sort of ask consumers on a monthly basis questions like that, so we should probably put it in our trend tracker. Yeah, so thank you.
Hi, I'm Heidi. I just want to say my experience, and I'm a bra designer and I've worked since over 30 years in this industry, European. Price points are not that much of a big deal in Europe, and I think it's very dangerous to say that they expect actually a good bra for a Walmart price, because we all know how many companies died because of Walmart, okay, or strategies like this. So I think this is very dangerous, and I don't actually think that they really expect this, because the quality is, I mean, you get what you pay for. So, yeah.
I'm curious, on your Lively slide, you talked about the inclusivity of sizes that they offer in the range, and that's one of their key selling points. When looking at the slide, the sizes that they offer are very similar to Victoria's Secret size range right now. So how much is it about their actual inclusivity of size range, and how much is it about their marketing perspective and how they portray themselves?
That's a great question. And we know that they actually are expanding their size offer, because you're right. That slide is slightly disingenuous, or what their communication is slightly disingenuous, because we've got your size, but it's like a 32 to a 36. Right. So, but they've actually identified that as something to work on, and they're expanding their size range. Okay. But a great question.
I think I saw this correctly, maybe not, but did you say 35% of bras are purchased from specialty stores?
Yes. Yes,
So are you talking about the, like,
Victoria's Secret.
Oh, that's
Got
considered a
Body,
specialty
yeah.
store.
Yeah, and
Oh,
that's our
okay, it's not-
NPD lingo, so yeah.
I was like, kudos to the local.
Right,
Okay,
right.
so then I'm gonna ask another question. Do you have any data on how important it is whether things are made in the United States?
Yeah, we fielded, it was a question to our panel, we fielded it about a year or so ago. I don't have the number, but we asked, is it important, do you make purchases specifically from something made in the United States? Again, if you want to give us your information, we can kind of talk to you about some of those results. But again, it was important to the consumer, but when it came to something being made in the US, they didn't want to pay more for it. See, sustainability, we got a good response of people that said they would pay more. People said, yeah, I'd love for it to be made in the United States. And then the follow-up, would you pay more? No. Maybe it was like 80-90% said no, so.
But it's self-reported purchase intent versus actually data supporting.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's it.
all right.
It's consumer responses.
Yeah.
Yep, not
Okay.
transactions.
Well, again, thank you very much. We're really happy.